While I could turn this video into another bandwagon rant about how Project Cars 3 basically took a shit in a paper bag and lit that bag on fire on my porch, I'm not going to. I'm sorry to disappoint, but there's been far too much hate circulating the sim racing community in the Project Cars series, and I really don't want to contribute to the ever-growing circle jerk. Is it justified hate? Sure. But when that hate starts to be directed at specific content creators in the sim racing community, including death threats, it just becomes sad and disgusting. I can't fathom someone thinking sending fucking death threats to a guy over a video game the guy likes is at all remotely okay. I know I'm a very small voice in the sim racing community, but I still felt the need to touch on this, and I know I'm a week late, but my upload schedule is only once a week, so I can't really talk about stuff in the middle of the week. Anyway, yeah, I thought that needed to be said. Let's get on to the video. So, Project Cars 2 can have my children. That kind of came out weird. What I mean to say is, I've recently revisited this game with all this Project Cars 3 talk because I've been dying to know, is Project Cars 2 still a viable option for sim racers? Does it hold up against the giants in the sim world? Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, a modded Assetto Corsa? I'd hate to just make this a pros and cons list for the game, so let's go over some stuff that's a little more in depth. My initial impression after not having played this game in 3 years? Jesus, it's been a while. The first thing that stood out to me was the goddamn menu music. Now, I'm not usually a connoisseur of games menu music, but Project Cars 2 has some pretty goddamn good music. The atmosphere it provides is fantastic, and I think it suits the game's feel. The first car I drove was the Group C Jaguar XJR9 at Watkins Glen. After one lap, I caught myself with a massive smile on my face. Why in the hell did I ever leave this game? I thought to myself, as I promptly exited the game. But only because I had to start my stream over at twitch.tv/Sakame, link in the description below. Now, a week later I hopped into a quick race with AI in the GT3 class. I was driving the Nissan GTR and yeah, I realized why I stopped playing Project Cars 2. You see, the problem I have with this game is one shared by many, and it's that this game tried to do too much. If we look at Assetto Corsa Competizione, we see a sim that is very much a one-trick pony, featuring only GT cars. But because it only has this one, technically two, I guess, series, it can provide the absolute best experience for those cars. In Project Cars 2, there are a staggering 57 car classes, some of which have up to 20 cars per class. Accompanying this massive car list is a track list with 53 options, not counting tracks with multiple layouts. So yeah, there's a lot of content in this game. For the majority of sim racers who don't want to go off and spend $40,000 on 2 different series in iRacing, this can be an amazing option. I personally think a modded Assetto Corsa will still beat Project Cars 2 in terms of realism and enjoyment, but with Project Cars 2 you don't have to go through the fuss of actually modding the game, and my guess is the majority of casual players would prefer not having to download a bunch of extra content and move folders around. Not to mention, console players can't even do that. Because of the extreme variety in content in Project Cars 2, there are naturally some cars that feel absolutely beautiful. Most of the Group C entries, for example, some of the GTEs, Group Bs, Formula Renault, the Renault GT3, the Audi R8 GT3, all of these feel fantastic. Now, on the other hand, there are quite a few cars that feel pretty awful. The Ferrari GTE, the rest of the GT3s, the higher speed Formula cars, and GT1s are the standouts for me in what doesn't feel too great. I just want to reiterate that this is just my personal preference. This is just kind of my short little list of cars that don't feel as polished as they should be in the game. The tire model in general for me is all fine, but my issue with these cars is that they feel very unnaturally light, while also behaving like they're very heavy. It's an extremely weird thing to try to describe, but that's the best way I can put it. Since some cars feel like that, one of the biggest downsides to this game is its physics. You'll see the word simcade thrown around. But honestly, as a hardcore sim nerd, that does simp for Kunos, remember. I still have a lot of fun on Project Cars 2, and I think they did some things better in this game than Kunos did in Assetto Corsa. In my short-lived return to Project Cars 2, I of course had to try out its multiplayer. As soon as I hit the browse online button, I was immediately flooded with flashbacks to only being able to find GT3 lobbies. I mean, come on, this game has 55 fucking classes, and everyone just wants to race GT3. Either way, much to my forced shock, GT3 is still the only class that has populated servers. You can find other classes online, but they'll usually have a fairly low player count, and people will just leave after the first lap of the race. Once the server list loaded, I almost threw up once I saw that Monza in the GT3 class was the most populated server, so I went to the next one down, which was GTE at Barcelona. Of course, 3 people forgot how to brake in into turn 1 and sent a few guys into the abyss, never to return, but I actually had a good battle with someone, and actually finished the race. If I'm being honest, it's really cool to see the multiplayer still actually somewhat active. Sure, it might just be GT racing, but you'll still have some great battles. Overall, I think Project Cars 2 honestly does still have a place in today's racing sim market. Personally, I think it's more of a game to race offline with rather than online, but you can still have just as much fun online. It's not gonna have the most realistic physics, and its graphics, while fantastic at the time of release, looks slightly dated in comparison to Assetto Corsa Competizione. However, it's still much better than a lot of its competition. Also, Project Cars 2 VR implementation is absolutely phenomenal and is still one of the most immersive experiences you can get. I honestly can't comment on whether you should get this over its younger sibling, Project Cars 3. I haven't played Project Cars 3, and I probably never will, but I'll still come back to Project Cars 2 from time to time. Maybe that says something. I don't know. Have a good rest of your day.